Hey, how you doing? This is Martone, owner and trainer of Fuller Fitness, and I thought that it would be a good idea for me to make this video. And one of the reasons I thought it would be a good idea for me to make this video is due to the fact that the last anywhere between 3 to 5 videos, maybe even 6 videos, I had been meaning to tell you certain things after doing the exercise that I did. But I was so excited about doing the exercise and trying to properly put the dumbbells down. Um, Trying to properly put the dumbbells down. I'm dog sitting for my mother, so trying to make sure he's not on the floor anywhere and possibly putting the dumbbells down on him, or my brother's cat being somewhere around. She's usually not around when I use my dumbbells compared to some of the other stuff I use. So trying to make sure certain things don't happen, and then I forget to tell you some of the stuff that I wanted to tell you guys after doing the chest press with 148-pound dumbbells. For those who may have seen that, the incline chest press with 123 pounds that I did days ago, depending on when you see this video, and then the 128-pound dumbbell incline press that I did today, actually, again, depending on when you see this video. So if you didn't, now that I just mentioned it, hopefully you go ahead and watch it, and hopefully you enjoy it as best as you can, depending on what kind of stuff you're into. But my point for the video, if I haven't said it already, is just to make sure that, one, I'm vegan. And I've been vegan a little over 2 years at this point. Two, I'm going on 38 years old within the next few months, if I'm allowed and blessed to live um, up to that point and longer, whatever. As some of us know, depending on how old some of us are, is that every day is not promised. So again, it might sound weird when I tell certain people, especially people who I talk to face, that I'm scheduled to be 38 at such and such date. And I was like, well, what? You don't plan on living that long? None of us know. So again, I am currently 37 years old, scheduled to be 38 years old soon, depending on when you see this video. If you see the video, been vegan for almost 2 years, and again, depending on which video you have seen up to this point, I did an incline chest press with dumbbells with 128 pounds. And again, my point in saying this to you, if you haven't seen it already, is because I'm really hoping that when some of you, if not all of you, see that, depending on if you saw it, will see it, whatever the case may be, that you don't all of a sudden see that from me or whoever, but specifically from me, and all of a sudden try to go do it. Depending on what you are currently capable of, have at it. But for the most part, depending on what you are currently able to do, please be smart with what you are trying to do and what you are currently capable of. I wasn't necessarily sure that I can do 128 pounds, but I know I've done 120 pounds before. That happens in terms of him barking at any little thing that he hears. So hopefully you can still hear me, and hopefully you're not bothered by it, especially if he does it for a while. Hey, cut it out. All right, I think we're good. Sorry about that. But, hey, shush. So I'm dog sitting for my mother, and he barks at everything. You all right? You gonna behave? Go over there. Sorry about that. For those of you who have dogs, you might understand. But anyway, again, depending on which video or videos you may have seen, my most recent video was me inclining. One of the two most recent videos was me inclining Olympic dumbbells that were totaled 128 pounds. And then after that, the same day, actually today. So again, depending on when you see this, I did a chest press, and then combine that with flies using 128 pounds. Well, the incline chest press with 128 pounds was a first for me, and the flies with 128 pounds, flat bench, by the way, flat bench flies with 128 pounds, that was a first for me today. So again, my point is that especially if you're young, again, I'm going on 38 years old at this point. So I just did that. I probably should have been able to do it sooner, just one day, but I wasn't able to figure out how to do it without it hurting or needing a spotter or anything like that. So I probably could have done that 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago, going on 34, maybe even 6 years ago. But again, trying to make sure I can do it in ways that didn't hurt, in ways that didn't cause physical or emotional pain or stress. Doing it without slamming it on the floor, especially living where I lived 4, 5, 6 years ago, or the people I lived with at the time, especially 4 years ago, especially 6 years ago, especially 8 years ago. So now that I live somewhere to where I don't have to deal with certain people, I have more freedom to do the workouts that I want to do, and have more fun, lift heavier, not having to go to the gym hoping that they have heavy dumbbells, which when I lived in Rochester, New York, for those of you that might lived there, still live there, I think there was only like one gym that I heard of in Child Life Center. Again, for those of you familiar with Rochester, New York. Excuse me, I'm full for my huge vegan protein shake. Uh, there was one gym that had 150-pound dumbbells, which was interesting because at the time I hadn't done 150-pound dumbbells yet. But I still had the idea in my head like, man, they only have 150-pound they only have 150-pound dumbbells, and I had at the time I hadn't done it yet. But I'm like, I think I might be able to, So again, you should have in mind. I had in mind that I was gonna pass that at some point. That I think I forgot what number was in my head. Probably 200 pound dumbbells, which I haven't done yet. But I think that was the idea in my head. So I was like, man, they only got 150. So, and that was probably like 10 years ago. To where it's like, man, they only got 150-pound dumbbells. I look forward to doing it, but but that currently that's all they have. I don't know if they have heavier at this point, but at that time it was like, man, all they have is 150-pound dumbbells. So now I live in Amherst, New York, for anyone that's familiar with that, which is in Buffalo, New York, part of Buffalo, New York. So I'm in Amherst, New York, and I think the heaviest dumbbells that I've heard of anybody having is 130-pound dumbbells, which is one of the Esporter gyms. Actually, I think there's another gym that I heard about. It's not like a franchise or anything. I think there's another gym I heard about that has 150, maybe even 160. I think there's a gym I heard about that has 160. But my current goal, still just like it was when I saw the 150. I think somebody told me about a certain private gym or smaller gym having 160, but my goal currently is to see if I can go to 170. So as far as trying to do something, depending on how my elbows feel, how my shoulders feel, and it's usually my left side. So, and I talked to a guy today. If he sees this, he probably remembers because he literally just said it today to me. And we both said it about how when we feel certain things, it's usually in the left shoulder, the left chest, the left shoulder, and or left elbow. For me, likely the left elbow, but sometimes the left chest. If I feel certain things to where it feels like I can't go as heavy or probably shouldn't do it at all. For me and another guy, Daryl, again, if he sees this, he might laugh. But depending on what you're able to do, man. So again, I apologize for the video being so long, but again, I like to make sure, actually, that's probably why I forgot to do it after the workout. Trying not to do the exercise and then talking for another 10, 15 minutes. Which would probably total 16 minutes. But again, for me, especially being a personal trainer, is to make sure I do my part to not only help you guys increase your strength, increase your size for those who might want to do that. Because again, as a vegan, I'm still over 240 pounds, which is great, and at almost 38 years old. So to make sure that you gradually get to a certain number that you're trying to get to, without you getting hurt, without you hurting somebody else, without you slamming the dumbbells on the floor if you don't have to, or have spotters. I usually don't have spotters. I'm at home, so I usually don't have spotters. In fact, the only creatures that are here when I'm doing this stuff currently, again, depending on when you see this video, that's interesting, is my mother's dog, who I just had in my arms a little while ago because he keeps barking at everybody, and then my brother's cat, who sometimes likes to get in the way. Actually, usually when I put my phone out to try to record stuff, she does a cameo appearance. For some reason, since I moved here, she don't do that as much. Maybe it's a difference in flooring, but again, my point is to make sure, at least do my part to try to make it so that, and I've been meaning to say it for at least a week, if not longer, depending on where you are right now, don't be too mad about it. It's okay to gradually get to a certain point and then figure out if you can't get to a certain point just yet, depending on how young you are. Again, I'm going on 38 and still trying to get to a certain number. So if you're younger, if you're going on 30, if you're going on 26, and you're at a younger age than what I am right now, again, going on 38, depending on when you see the video, if you see the video, there's a possibility you might not do certain things as far as strength just yet until you're 35, until you're 38, until you're 40. Depending on why it's taking you that long to do it, try not to be mad about it. Enjoy the process, respect the process, as long as you're actually doing it right, whatever right is for you. And then the interesting thing about trying to do what's right for you is that depending on who and what your resources are, especially if you're seeing this video for however you're seeing it, whatever led you to see it, whether it was recommended by a person, recommended by an algorithm, whatever it was that led you to watching this video at this point, you can try it on your own, which is fine. If you have awesome ideas on how and when to get to the point where you start doing certain things. But depending on what your resource is, who your resources are, what your resources are, with me being the owner and trainer of Fuller Fitness, the business that I have and the experience I have, over 21 years of experience, possibly more than that actually, probably closer to 24 years of experience, especially if you don't count the years that I was actually a personal trainer. So to where I was trying to get going towards personal training before I necessarily knew what personal training was, the idea of it without necessarily knowing what it was yet. I think I just thought of it as coaching or something, but what kind of is. But again, the point is to make sure that if you are at 60-pound dumbbells, or not even at 60-pound dumbbells, but if you're at a certain point and you see some of us lifting a certain amount, hopefully that doesn't motivate you to rush to get to the numbers that you see some of us doing. It's okay to gradually improve, and hopefully fun for you to gradually improve. I get very excited, as you should be, to put a certain... So again, if the guy that I've met since I moved here, if Daryl watches this video, especially if he watches the whole video, because it's the second time and probably last time I'll mention him in a video, but it's funny because I think one day within the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think 2 weeks specifically, he said, I called out a number that I was going to try to chest press. with my Olympic dumbbells. And he was like, do you just like think of a number? He was like, do you actually think of a number and then do it, or just try it or go for it? And pretty much, yeah. You especially seeing that the Olympic dumbbells that I have are 8 pounds by themselves. So it's like, how much, if it wasn't for the 8 pounds on the dumbbell, how much would I actually try to lift? All right. So then, if I put a certain amount of weight on the dumbbells are 8 pounds by themselves each, 8 pounds each. So then, if I put 140 pounds on the dumbbell, obviously that's 148 pounds, which is what I did, I think, last week, Thursday, from today, actually, again, depending on when you see this. So, and again, that's not my max, but that's what I did last week just to get back to actually to surpass what I did last time, which was 158 pounds on my dumbbells last year around this time before I moved here. So, again, the point is to make sure you're not trying to rush to put a certain number on the dumbbells, depending on where you are now, especially for those of you that are like 17 and you're trying to do 180. That doesn't mean don't do it, you can't do it, shouldn't do it. That just means don't rush to do it. If you are at 60 pounds, if you're at 80 pounds, don't try to all of a sudden jump to do 123, jump to do 148, jump to do 168, 170, whatever certain number you're trying to get to. It doesn't mean don't do it. Just enjoy the process of getting there. Give yourself time. And then the good thing about it, especially with this generation, there's so much information out. With high hopes, you are getting information that works for you, whether it's from me or whoever you might be getting it from. So, um, with me, you have the option of subscribing to my channel so that you can actually see what I put on here with high hopes that sometimes I remember, if I can try to do, because again, I've already gone longer than I wanted to, but again, in terms of making sure I'm not missing anything to do my part as owner and trainer of the business that I have, to make sure if you're doing it and it was because of something I said, something you saw me do, even if it's by video, to have high hopes that you heard and or saw certain things to where it's like, all right, I just did 168. All right, your turn. That's not something I've ever done. That's not something I will ever do. Especially seeing that, again, going on 38 years old, I'm still trying to get to certain numbers. If I can do it without hurting my elbow, hurting my shoulder, hurting my pec, hurting my neck, hurting my back, hurting anything, especially if I'm hurting for weeks, if I'm hurting for months, if I'm hurting for damn near a year, because I was so excited to try to get to a number, especially if I'm trying to get to a number to impress people who either don't care that much or won't do certain things to help me after hurting myself if I hurt myself, as far as therapy, physical therapy, money, and whatever it is I might need if I actually get to the point where I hurt myself. So, to be safe while having the fun that I actually want to have, feeling good during the chest press, feeling good the during the chest press, after the chest press, and that's whether I recorded or not, because I've done things to where I hadn't recorded for whatever the reason, which is fine. And just as excited when I didn't record it. Actually, when I did 158 last year, I was gonna record it, but when I did the second set, I hurt my elbow, so I couldn't record it for you guys last year like I wanted to. But I hope that if I do it again, which I think I will, so whenever I do that again, to record it, but again, help you understand. So it might be 163 if I do it again, because I think I'm gonna try to do 5 pounds heavier than what I did last time. So again, for those who ask, if you actually see this video and pay attention to enough of the video, the Olympic dumbbells I use, unless I find out otherwise, are 8 pounds each, or if I check again and see a different number. But the Olympic dumbbells I use are 8 pounds each. So obviously, if I put a certain number on, if I put 150 pounds on and the dumbbells are 8 pounds by themselves, there you go. So I've done 158 already. So hopefully within the next 3 weeks, depending on how my elbow feels. It feels fine at the moment. Depending on how my elbow feels, put 153, have 153 pounds total on the dumbbell. Did I say that right? 163 pounds total on the dumbbell, and see if I can do 4 or 5 reps with that, which would be interesting. Let's see if I can do 163 pounds chest press, flat bench chest press with the dumbbells. And again, I'm going on 38 and I'm still getting to certain numbers currently and being vegan. So again, for depending on what you heard, what you read, to where you hear about people not being strong as vegan, strong as vegetarian. If that's true, it's because they're not doing things correctly. But I've been vegan for over 2 years, and I'm doing more than what I was doing before I was vegan. So maybe that's an interesting coincidence. But I'm stronger than I was before being vegan. I feel great. I feel great. I'm going on 38 this year, unless there's some other things that happen to where I don't. And again, as long as you're not rushing to do it, you don't need drugs. Again, I'm not taking anything other than creatine. I'm not taking anything that I don't need or want to take just so I can get to a certain number. If I try to get to a certain number and I can't get it, I'm good with it. I mean, I'll be mad about it to a certain degree, but not to where certain things are going to happen in terms of being depressed, breaking anything, doing drugs, or, whatever. If I can't do it, whatever, just figure out something else. And still have fun doing what I like doing. Just if I can't get to a certain number of load, then maybe I can just do a certain number of reps with a certain amount of weight. So if I can't get to 163, or if I can't get to 178 or whatever it is I put on my Olympic dumbbell, then hopefully I can just do 148 pounds and then see if I can do 10 reps with it, which would be personal best for me.